Welcome to the Define You Radio podcast, where class is always in session. Get ready for the life lessons, tips, and stories to help you define your life. And now, your host, the drill sergeant with love, Valenciagriffin-Wallace.
Thank you so much for listening to Define You Radio. I'm your host, Valenciagriffin-Wallace. Define You Radio is sponsored by the Define You Queens movement and the Move Retreat. To find out more, please visit valenciagwallace.com. I have a treat for you guys today. In today's session, we will be interviewing Miss Pamela Lewerenz, and hopefully I said that correct. Pamela is a business consultant. She coaches ambitious, action-oriented Gen X. I do believe that's my generation. I'm going to have to check with her. Service-based entrepreneurs, and y'all know I fight with that word, okay? So just ignore that part. How to build successful and sustainable businesses. Her personal quote is, there are 1,440 minutes in a day. How will you use yours to move yourself closer to your goals? That's something for you guys to think about, because you guys are probably spending 720 of those minutes on YouTube. I'm just saying. So with that being said, let's go ahead and welcome our guest, Miss Pamela, to the show. Hi, Miss Pamela.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I am. I'm excited to have you here for more reasons than one, because I do have businesses and I'm interested in hearing about you being a business consultant. What does that mean and everything else? Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that part. So did I say your last name correctly?
Well, actually, the W is pronounced a V. Now, why it's not actually a V, I'm not sure. So it's Lewerenz. But yeah, it's one of those tricky names that I keep threatening my husband. I should have kept my maiden name, which was Johnson. It was so much easier.
So much easier, but your last name definitely will set you apart from any other Pamela.
Oh, for sure. Sure.
So tell me a little bit about being a business consultant, because people probably get business consultant versus business manager mix up. So what is the difference between the two?
Well, really, what I do as a business consultant is work with my clients so that we can figure out the steps they need to take to make all their dreams come true. So very often we go into this world of business thinking, okay, we can do this, let's go. And then we find out we're faltering, we're not sure of all the steps, and we need that support from other people. So I give support as well as guidance.
That's awesome. A lot of people do need that more than they realize, because I think at least with me, I kind of fell into being a businesswoman. I tend to use that word more than entrepreneurial, because me and that word fight. But, some people, they never move past the hobby phase of business.
Exactly.
Do you see that a lot? And do you see it more with women?
I do see that a lot. And, I hadn't really thought about it, but just having you say that, yes, I think more in women than in men. And I think it really falls back to the whole balancing life and work, the best way that you can. And that's not to say that, the gentlemen who are listening don't have that, but women just innately have that inside of them, that they have to be the best at everything they do. And everything they do needs 100% of their attention. And it just isn't like that every single day.
Oh my gosh, you just totally read my life. You totally read my life, because I think that women are harder on themselves, especially in business, versus men, especially if we're moms, wives, so on. Like, you don't you want everything to be in line and be right. So it tends to cause more stress, at least from what I see from the women I deal with, including myself.
Right, right. Exactly. I mean, you want to be the best business owner. You want to be the best wife, the best mother, the best friend. You want to do all those things, but it's not so easy. It's really not as easy as people would think it is. And it's all about balancing more or less your time and figuring out where you need to put your focus at a particular time.
Hence your personal quote.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I do a lot of productivity.
I love that. I could always, I could say, okay, Valencia, this is not working. Try it this way. Or I could better advise people on things that'll work for them versus work for me, especially when I understand that life changes day to day, especially in business. And it is hard sometimes to get back on track,
Oh,
even if
yeah.
you do have a productivity system.
Yeah,
So that can be
definitely. Definitely. I always say it's the well laid plans, but they
frustrating.
don't always go according to plan.
Mm, that was a good personal quote as well.
Sometimes you really, I mean, you could wake up in the morning, and I guess I should back up and just say that's one of the reasons why I work with Gen X, because Gen X really is that age range of like 38 to 59 that may not have their focus on the online space as much as someone who may be a little younger, as well as, hey, they're usually people that are trying to juggle a million things at once, and they just need some building strategies of how to do it all. How can they squeeze that all in to the 24 hours there are in a day?
That is so true. And I'm actually in that age group. So,
Perfect.
and the thing with, I could speak from personal experience, is that, social media and the things that come so easy to 16, 17, 18-year-olds out here starting $1 million businesses like nothing. When in my, this age group, we want to be more private and, less time and not sure what to do because it's so much out there in such a cluttered space.
It
So
is.
how do
It
you
is.
help with people that, really kind of don't want a part of social media? Because I actually know people my age, and I'm 42, that they aren't on social media at all.
Well, if you're running an online business, you have to be online somewhere. And then really, I think that the social media part comes in for the marketing piece of it. So if you plan to not market on social media, you're just going to have to figure out how you're going, get creative and figure out how you're going to market somewhere else. Maybe just using your website, maybe using the old fashioned way of getting on the phone, doing warm leads, doing cold calls, whatever it takes to make you feel comfortable. Because if you don't feel comfortable, you're not going to be able to do it.
That's so true. You end up having a stiff or very robotic post, and who wants to do business with that person?
Exactly. Exactly. And then I know social media can be super overwhelming to people. So I always say, start with one platform and build from there. If you have to add on any others, some people just stick with that one platform and perfect it. And that's fine as long as you're somewhere. You don't have to be on 6 or 7 different things.
That's good advice, because I know, including myself. So a lot of times during this interview, when I'm referring to that I know a person, I am that person, okay? Because it seems like everywhere. And I know, okay, if you use Facebook, you use this, or if you use Instagram, you post like this, it can be very overwhelming to where I just kind of want to cut back to one or maybe two platforms. So if somebody is already, like me, already out there on like a whole lot of platforms and want to cut back, what would your advice be?
You first need to determine where most of your leads are coming in from. So obviously you don't want to cut the platforms where you're getting the most interaction and the most leads from people. And then once you kind of pinpoint what that particular platform is, and that's all done through the, analytics, you'll really be able to say, okay, this is my platform and this is what I'm sticking to. And then you don't have to worry about being in 6 different places because it's super hard. I don't care how many schedulers you use. It's still super hard because you have to come up with the content and you don't want to put the same content on every platform. So yeah, it can be pinpointing that one and then sticking to it, just being consistent with it. It doesn't matter. Let's choose LinkedIn. As long as, you pick the schedule of when you are going to be active in LinkedIn and then stick to it. Make sure you're consistent, whether that's 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 5 days a week, whatever it is. And then you'll see growth, probably more than ever, because now you're just focused on one platform.
I love that. That is great advice. And so I may just be cutting some social media by the time this interview is over.
Well, especially, and that's why I'm so passionate about this. When I first started, I was like, okay, I made a list of like all these social media platforms and thought, I'm going to do this. And then there's no way you can keep up with all of them. So, you might have a presence on, your main concentration on 1 or 2 of them, and then a presence on 2 or 3 others. But it's not the everyday, I have to get out there and I have to talk to people and I have to be there and I have to post and you're looking at the time and going, oh my gosh, it's almost the end of the day and I haven't even popped on there. Have I put a picture on Instagram? Did I put my stuff on Pinterest? Wait a minute. Did I forget about LinkedIn? I mean, it can consume so much of your day when you really don't need to do that. And that's all part of that original business plan that's got all those sections. And part of it is marketing. You really have to have a clear-cut marketing plan.
Now, see, this interview is going like a whole different direction as you give me more and more content. So before we get into the, other questions that I have, I read that you were in politics.
Yes.
Okay. And so how did you go from, politics to business consulting? Because that is a very interesting jump.
It is. So I originally started out in the business world. So for those people that are in my age range of the early to mid 50s, how do you like that? Back when we were in high school, you had tracks to take. So you generally either took a college track, a business track, or just a general track. And I started way back in high school with a business track. So when I graduated from high school, I went on to business school, which, you don't hear that much about anymore. It's basically just a college. But I took that extra step and did business school first. And then when I graduated from that, then I went on to a local community college. So I pretty much have been in this business world. I started working when I was 15, when I had to get working papers. I've held several different jobs in the business world since then. I've worked in a junior, senior high school. I worked in administration in the healthcare facility, and the hours were long. It was grueling. It was hard for me to be away from my kids. They were growing up. I felt like they were growing up without me. I left very early in the morning and came back most of the time when they were already tucked into bed. So it was at that point in time that I hadn't been thinking about anything except, boy, I have to find some kind of job that isn't going to take 15 hours a day with commute time. And I was approached by someone in my community, and I lived in the same community my entire life. 52 years I lived in that community until I moved away last year. So I was approached by someone in the community that said, look, you're so active in boards and in all these volunteer things in town. Would you be interested in running for, a political office? And I just kind of laughed. I was like, what, are you kidding me? Don't you have to, I can't do that. So I thought about it, and the particular office that was open was tax collecting, or a lot of people know it as revenue collecting. So I did. I ran for that office, and I actually was the collector in my community for 12 years. And during that time period, of course, I joined many other boards, commissions, pretty much anything that you could. And stretched my hours. So now I was not only going 15 hours a day, I was probably going about 18. Totally not the direction that I thought I was going to go in. And I was coming up to another election, and I thought, there's got to be something I can do. I'm coming from a family of entrepreneurs. My parents had opened up a moving company back in the 1960s. I had a brother who owned a restaurant. I had another brother who's in forestry. Other people were doing it around me, and I thought, I think I'm going to use my passion for helping people, all this volunteering and helping people, with the need to make money, and I'm going to open up my own business. So I used my background of business and of accounting, and originally started as a business management and accounting firm back in 2009. Which I ran part-time until 2014, when I decided I wasn't running in another election because, gosh darn it, I could make money and I was going to do it. And it took me 12 straight months to build this business to a full-time level, but I did it. And a couple years down the road is when I kind of changed focus and went more over to the business consulting piece of it. So yeah, that's the long-winded, hey, that's what I did.
That's very interesting, especially building it in a 12-month period where a lot of people, now this is not including me, okay, are still trying to figure out how to turn their hobby into a full-time business.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it just took... I was determined. I still say that's one of my top things when people are like, okay, what's the first word that pops into your mind if you had to explain who you were? And I'm like, I'm determined. I'm a very determined, focused woman. And I just knew that, it was going to end. And I had 12 months to get this built, and it took me the full 12 months. And I worked at that time, I was working at part-time. I was doing the elected position full-time. I was working yet another part-time job a couple times a week. Plus I was doing volunteering, taking care of my mom who had moved in with us. And my kids at that point were, teenage and early 20s. So there was a lot going on. But I knew I had to do it. And I just sat down and I worked before, I went to work in the morning, the wee hours. And when I got home at night, I grabbed a bite to eat and went into my little home office and sat there and just did everything I possibly could to get this built.
Number one, I love the word determination. To me, it's not used enough in good examples. And one of the things that I love as far as when we're talking about, what you do is building a successful and sustainable business. And I think a lot of people get frustrated because they think, okay, I should be able to build $1 million business in 6 months because they see the end game, as I call it, on social media,
Yeah.
but they're not seeing the 20 years that went behind it. What do you say to those people that get frustrated because they're expecting $1 million business in 6 months?
Yeah, there really is no magic overnight pill that you can take to say, okay, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to, have my $10,000 month first month in. You might, but you probably won't. And you can't get discouraged. You really just have to have your business all planned out. The business plan is what you start with. And then you're going to take that business plan and you're going to create the steps on how you're going to get to all those goals. And I think that's where a lot of people pretty much fail at reaching those goals, is because they're so busy focusing on the end game itself. They're not looking at the steps you have to do every single day. You have to take steps in order to reach those goals. You're just looking at, I need to make that $100,000, but you have to figure out how you're going to make it. And it has to be broken down into tiny, manageable chunks.
I love that. And it's interesting that you mentioned a business plan. I want to say it was Grant Cardone, and I might be messing his name up. I want to say it was him that said that he just started a business. He didn't worry about a business plan. I want to, and don't quote me, guys. I will make sure that I either confirm what I'm saying or say, no, this was wrong. But I'm 90% sure in his book, 10X, he says that, like, he didn't worry about a business plan. And here he is wildly successful. People will see stuff like that and really think, business plans are old school. Do you still recommend a business plan?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's like one of the first things that I started doing back in 2016 when I worked with people. I was like, okay, well, let's pull out your business plan. And they would say to me, I don't have one. And I'd say, well, let's change that. So, I mean, you absolutely have to have a business plan, because these ideas that you have for a business are probably really good ideas, but that's where they're going to stay unless you create those actionable steps, those business strategies in order to get there. And you have to be focused on, what your overall mission is, what you're trying to accomplish, how you're going to accomplish it, all the tools you need, all the support you need. It does happen that people become millionaires without one, but it's not recommended. And it's not really for people that don't have that business background to begin with, which a lot of people nowadays really don't. They're opening businesses left and right for something. But if you don't have that business plan, you don't even have a budget or finances. You just know you want to make $100,000. That's not a good plan.
I think that's where most people are. That's where most people are. In my Facebook group, Define You, that's one of the things that we discuss is, how do you manage a 9-to-5 and work on your business? And people have like really big ideas and really big steps. And I'm 99.9% sure a business plan is not on that list, because who wants to do that? Because it's not fun.
No.
I've done them and it's not. It's like one of those things you'd almost rather pay somebody else to do.
Absolutely. And I think when people hear business plan, they're like, oh, it's got to be like 56 pages long. But it doesn't if you're just, you're a solopreneur and let's say you're going to do social media management. I mean, you can have a 2 or 3 page business plan, which basically is your outline. Then you're going to take that outline and create the goals. And then from there, you're going to create the actionable steps you need. So it all goes back to, you have to figure out why you're doing this.
Love that. Love that. And I love how you just broke it down. Hopefully the listeners will get started on a business plan, something short. I know mine, I call them quick and dirties. They're really short and, to the point, because I've seen business plans in any template you use. It's like a ridiculous amount of pages. It's like publishing a book is easier than writing a business plan, at least in my eyes. But it is something that, I did because it's like, it's supposed to be done. That doesn't make it fun, but that's where that determination kicks in.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, just for example, my business building boot camp that I have, that's the first thing you're going to do is get that business plan written.
And I was definitely going to ask you about that, but since you brought it up, tell us a little bit about that, because it sounds like interesting. Like I picture people with combat boots on and briefcases.
Don't you love that? I know. And, people are going to laugh when they get inside the boot camp, because really it's built around 12 steps. So I have 12 steps, and it starts with that business plan. So a lot of people will come in and they're like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I just want to figure out how I'm going to do content creation and how I'm going to get clients and how I'm going to make money. And I'm like, you need to have patience. You have to work yourself step by step. So that's one of the steps. But it's really just a 12-week program that is going to address an important business topic, but a foundational business topic. So there's 12 different business topics that we talk about. And it's done as a group. It's a whole special, what do you call it? Like monthly group calls. It's kind of like a group coaching is really what it is. But you also get very directed steps each month. This is what we're focusing on. Don't go ahead of the focus. Stay where we are. It is run a little bit more or less like a boot camp, but we do have fun.
I love it. I'm a military mom, so I'm all about the boot camp situation, and it lets people know, like, you're going to have fun, but you're going to learn, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. Like you said, building successful and sustainable businesses.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So in the process of your journey, what was the biggest obstacle you've had thus far, and what did you learn from it?
Oh my gosh. My biggest obstacle has to be that when I woke up in January of 2016, here I was running this business management and accounting firm. And I was probably putting in, I'm guesstimating 70 hours a week, trying to work one-on-one with these small businesses and not leaving myself any time to do any of my own marketing or work on any kind of things that I wanted to do, which really was all about these boot camps and the building club and all the stuff I wanted to do. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And I just had no time. And I just thought to myself, what have you created? I mean, you're making the money that you needed to, but you're like killing yourself doing it because you're working 70 hours a week, which is even more extreme than when I worked 9 to 5.
Right.
So I just really, I made myself get out of bed that morning, and I thought, okay, I'm going to revisit this entire business plan, and I am going to revamp it, and I'm going to start doing things that make me happy. Something, giving me a reason to want to jump out of bed in the morning. I want that happiness again. That was where the sustainability comes in, because although you may be able to be successful and make what you want, can you sustain it? And a lot of people don't look at that. in the beginning. You know, they're just so excited to get clients and start making money that at some point you're going to sit back and go, gee, I'd really like to take vacation, but I don't think I can.
Right.
Yeah.
You said so many great points with that part, because I know, from personal experience, especially year one, I was working more than I did at what I call other people's job, former employment.
Yeah.
And, staying up to 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, because you hear the quotes that say, stay up late, get up early, all of those things. And I could speak for me and some of the women I know, there's a certain guilt in building a business when you feel like you're not staying up late enough or getting up early enough, like you're running yourself crazy trying to do so.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, during this 12-month period that I was really building my business to get to a certain level, I had to give up things that I normally did. I knew that it was short-lived. I knew that it was not going to be something I was going to continue to do. And then I just reached out. And I mean, the biggest person that really helped me during that time period was my husband. And I said to him, look, I can't juggle 2 jobs, build a business, do all this other stuff, take care of everything. I said, I need you to help. And he said, you name it, what do you need done? I said, well, I need the shopping done. I need the cooking done. I need the house cleaning done, the laundry. Basically, I need you to stay, be like a stay at home, all around, do everything for me kind of person. And he said, I'm there for you. And he did it. So I know not everybody has that opportunity, but when I talk to people, we can always figure out ways that they can give themselves those extra hours, whether it's bringing in the neighbor who's a few years older than your younger kids, and they can just play in the other room while you're trying to get things done. Having somebody actually take your kids out on a play date a couple times a week, whatever it is. I mean, you can find the hours and you can get it done. Sometimes it just takes a little finagling.
And being creative.
Yeah.
But one
you
of the
have
things,
to think outside of that box.
Right. And adjust accordingly. I think you with the schedule, just like, with the business plan, as things change, you may have to do some adjustment.
Yeah.
To
absolutely.
Make it work.
It's all about adjusting. It's all about being flexible. What worked, last month might not work again the following month. And that's one of the reasons why I have everybody take, set aside some time at the beginning of each month to look back and say, what was good about last month? What was not so good about it? And the good stuff you're going to keep doing. And the stuff that wasn't so good, you're either going to A, change it, or B, trash it. Just like that. Because you can't hold on to it and struggle with it and say, but I think I can make it better. No. It either works or it doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, you have to figure out why it's not working and tweak it, or just sometimes get rid of it.
Love it. A lot of people don't slow down enough to reflect to see what's working, because sometimes when you figure out something's not working, that means you have to create a new plan, which requires a little bit more time. So I definitely understand the need for business consultants. I can't even talk right today. And, being that I primarily deal with women my age, that Generation X, where it's new to us, and it's catching up, and it's not being frustrated during the process of still trying to be a mom and figure out how to use Walmart.com and Waiter, which are my two favorite things,
Well, sometimes it's as simple as figuring out how you can make a fillable PDF, or I mean, there's all these little tiny steps. You're like, wait a minute, I know that can be done, but
Right.
just reaching out to somebody and saying, do you know how to do this, so that you're not spending 4 hours researching it?
Right. I agree. I agree. And not because one of the things that I see a lot is, women jumping on the next hot thing.
Yes.
We'll see somebody do a post or something of that nature that, oh, I'm doing this system and this system works and I made $10,000 in 5 minutes using this system. And that distraction comes and it sets in so easy. And then it's like, okay, let me try this.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's hard for a lot of people to get to the sustainable business part. What are your thoughts?
I was going to say, there are so many shiny objects out there. And there's really a lot of people who mean well. And then there's other people that just want to bait you into saying, okay, if you pay me $5,000, all this magic will happen. And then you get disappointed because it doesn't.
Right.
So I think that's why overall my business has taken on this role so that I can kind of wade through all of that for you. I'm constantly, every week looking for the best people to work with, looking for the best way to get things done, making sure if they're updating this PDF filler thing that I'm keeping up with it. So I can pass that along to people, and then just making sure that they take whatever those steps are and they focus on them. And then going even a step further, making sure they're held accountable for doing that. Because a lot of people will say, okay, these are my steps and I'm going to take them. And then a week goes by and I'll say, what did you get done out of there? And they're like, well, I didn't really, the laundry piled up, and then I had a sick kid, and then I had to bring my car in to get new tires. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. There was no time during the week you could even take one of those steps. So, that's where as my husband says, that's where the naughty Pam comes in and says to people, oh, no, that's not going to do. You said you were taking 3 steps. You need to take 3 steps.
I love that. Is that brick wall coaching?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me about the name. Because I know it's not your maiden name and it's not your married name, but it's very like, I'm the brick wall, the buck stopped here. Like, that's what I think of when I hear brick wall. Yeah. So go ahead.
Well, that's good. That's good. I love to hear everybody's take on what that means to them when they see it. And I will tell you, the short story of it is that, when I first started, I was known as balanced numbers or balanced business. That's what I had. I liked the word balanced. And try as I may, when I wanted to break out into this consulting piece, I couldn't come up with a good enough word around balanced. It was driving me insane to the point where, I just kind of had to put it out of my mind because it kept popping in. And one afternoon I was sitting in my office on a Saturday, and, I kind of put my head in my hands, and I thought, I just can't believe that I've hit a brick wall and I can't think of, and I went, oh, wait a minute, brick wall coach. I could do that. So I go flying into the kitchen to share this with my husband, who looks at me and says, that's great. Why don't you, see if that resonates with other people? And I said, other people? I'm not going to see if it resonates with them. I'll make it resonate with them.
Right.
So I really just became the brick wall coach because I look at it in a couple of different ways. Building that brick wall or that brick secure foundation for your business. And then I look at it like, let's punch through your brick wall, all those millions of things that are standing in your way each and every day. And I'm going to help you overcome those hurdles.
I love that. That's very, very interesting. Opposite of what I thought. Well, not necessarily opposite, but it's very interesting because it's powerful. It's definite. It's like concrete, brick wall
Yes,
concrete, that type of situation. Like, what you're getting. So I do love that. I do love that. If you had to go back in time, um, before you started, or at that, when you may have been on the fence about starting a business or not, would you do it all over again? Would you still go ahead and jump into business?
absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I can't say that this is probably the best thing that I have done other than marry my husband and have my children in my entire life, because I'm doing something that I love and I know that I'm making a difference in people's lives. And when somebody comes back to me and says, that was just the key that I needed, I was just missing that one piece, or I can't even begin to tell you that I stumbled across all these roadblocks for 6 months until I found you. All those things just make me know I'm in the right place.
I love that. And I love to hear your passion about it. So I'm trying to think about this question that I want to ask, because you have to be like completely honest, okay?
Okay.
Have you ever, or could you ever see yourself telling somebody they should not be in business?
Um, I have not told anyone that, but I definitely could see myself saying that. I completely being honest, the people that I work with, I don't think, in my ideal client base, I don't think that would happen, because these people, when they're coming to me, know that they really, really want this business to be successful. But there's other people that just in passing that, I've met on social media or at networking events that, are kind of thinking about opening a business, but they're doing it for the wrong reasons. They're not doing it because that's really their passion and what they want to do. They're doing it because they think it's going to be easy or an easy way to make money. I have to tell them that's not the reason to go ahead and start a business, because it's definitely not an easy thing.
Yeah. And you'll get frustrated quick. I tell
Oh,
people
yeah.
there's so many ways out here to make money. I mean, you can actually go and work a job and make money, but you have to be a special kind of crazy to, to be a business owner. And I never forget when I told my job, I actually told them when I started, I said, look, when my son graduates high school, I'm leaving here. And I told them this when I started the job. I also reminded them this like a year beforehand, and, leading up to him graduating high school, and they just didn't take me seriously. And I'm like, okay, that's giving me more determination, more fire, and everything else to go ahead and start a business.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's very interesting. It was for different reasons. I don't know if it necessarily was the right motive, so to speak, but it was more because I really don't like when people tell me what to do. Now,
I
this
was
is
going to say
right.
exactly.
These were my original motives. Okay, audience, don't judge me. Well, it's kind of still true today, but I'm a little bit better as I get older. But I don't like people telling me what to do or controlling my time, and not respecting what I did. Whether it was something little to them, that level of respect or appreciation that literally you're making them rich. So I
Yes.
was like, I can't do that. Like, literally, I can't. And I didn't know what, I just knew I had to get out because I didn't want to be like I see a lot of people, and I'm sure you see it like with, that Generation X. It's almost like a desperation of not wanting to work somebody else's job until you're 70, 75.
Right. Right. You don't want to make money for them. You figure, well, I could just make my own money.
Right.
But you have to have those side reasons like you did. I mean, there came a point where, during that last year, I thought, okay, that's one day less that I'm going to have to come in here. I need to
Right.
be sitting at this desk facing the public, at a certain time every day. And I need to put a smile on my face. And some days you might not want to smile. You might not be feeling well. You might not want to do those things. And when you own your own business, I mean, it gives you that much more leeway.
Right.
Plus, you don't have to get up in the morning and, get all
Yay.
gussied up and fancy clothes. And I mean, if you feel like staying in your yoga pants that day, if you're not going on camera, if you're not, why not stay in your yoga pants? It's not bothering anybody. You're still getting your job done.
That is my current situation. and honestly, like, to me, I save more money because I'm not having to buy quote unquote work clothes.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
I spend more money on food though. I will say that because I'm home. Sometimes, a lot. So I know I read somewhere that you went from a brick and mortar to the online space. Do you still have your brick and mortar building, or are you strictly online, and how was that transition?
Yeah, well, that was a great transition. No. When I first, started my business, I had a lot of in-person clients. I mean, I'd lived in this community for 52 years. So I was actually helping. It all started with helping a small financial advisor who had a company, and it grew from there. And, as I got more into the consulting realm of it, and as I knew that I was going to be leaving Connecticut and moving to South Carolina, which was a dream my husband and I both had, I knew that I was not going to sustain having both of them. So yeah, it was only June of last year when I finally closed the doors to my brick and mortar and said, that's it. I am 100% online. And, I don't want to change that piece of it because being online means I can travel. That means I can readily get back to Connecticut to be with my family, to play with my grandkids, whatever I want to do. I can pack up my laptop and I can go with my date book. But, having that brick and mortar is it just was something that I just didn't want to do at this stage of my life.
Understood. And it's easier, like you said, especially if you love to travel. I personally love South Carolina. I've been to the is that Charleston? I can't.
Charleston. Oh, I love
My
Charleston.
son went to basic training at Fort Jackson.
Yep.
And so we came out there, and it was cold. And I'm in Louisiana. It was not cold here, but it was cold there, which was interesting, the weather adjustment. But it's beautiful. It's very scenic, at least the part that we saw. And I was like, oh my gosh, because houses in the South don't look like that,
Yes.
So I could see
Yes.
why you would want to live in South Carolina.
Yeah. And I mean, compared to New England, the
Yeah.
climate here is so much different. I mean, my husband and I just remarked over the weekend, we were like, it's still February and we're walking around with a sweatshirt on. I mean, back up there, they're getting snow and ice. They're in parkas and, mittens. And I said, nope, gave that all away.
That's interesting. I haven't been to Connecticut. I've been to New York, which I love, but You have to plan at the right time of the year.
You
But
do.
my business still runs. And to me, that benefit alone, to be able to move with your business. So if someone came to start a business or to speak with you about business consulting, would you recommend more online space versus an actual physical location?
I think it's all about what they plan to do.
Yeah.
And really what type of business it is. Some businesses, it's not feasible to have a brick and mortar, or there isn't really a reason to. And other times, I still work with a lot of people in the financial industry, and it's important to them. A lot of them, yes, just do online, but a lot also have the brick and mortar, so that they get that local. I think that's really what it is. If you plan to network locally and join, things in your community, then you might want to think about having an actual brick and mortar business. But I mean, for me, and I wanted to make sure that this was something I knew I could do, and to prove to me and all those people that were like, you're never going to be able to do that. That's what they said to me. Oh, you can't do that. You can't go in the online space. Are you sure that's even legal? I love it. And I said, yeah, watch me. So I went on a business conference in California. So we flew in 2016, we flew from Connecticut to California, and my husband came with me. And I said to him, like right before we were leaving, like a week before, I said, oh, by the way, I didn't buy return airfare. And he said, how are we getting home? And I said, oh, I have this great idea. I am going to keep a vlog. And in this vlog, I am going to show people that we are traveling cross country while I am still working. So we left the conference and we had rented a van, and we stopped along the way. We took like the southern route home. So we got to see the Grand Canyon and the Painted Desert, and I mean, all these places that I wanted to go to. And we were on the road for about a month. And
wow.
Literally, he drove. I had the laptop with me. I took care of what I had to. All my clients knew I was on the road, and I wasn't going to be like right on them, depending on when I had service. And then when we stopped, I usually spent either an hour in the evening or a couple hours the next morning before we left, did what I had to do that I couldn't do while we were traveling. And then my days were filled with all these adventures. So it was great. And I came home and I said, well, take that. I could do it.
That is, I love that. And I love the point that you proved and you got to enjoy it. And that's actually one of my goals. One of the things I'm working towards is to basically live on the road, podcast, and write books, which are things that can be done on the road.
Absolutely.
And me and my husband took a 3-week, I think, road trip to Canada. And the random places you see on the road that's not even on maps, the things you just, driving through the different types of weather. And I tell people that is like one thing you should do before you die. Like if you have a list, like see how big the world is, and then you figure out how you're not that attached to certain comforts or certain materialism. And I told him one day I'm going to write a book, because I journaled the whole trip. And, you want to test a marriage? Be locked up in a car with your husband for days.
Oh, yes. Let me tell you all about it. But it was, and that's exactly the feeling that I had. I thought, we are on one of the biggest adventures ever.
Right.
And I mean, how many people take the opportunity to do that? And I thought, here we are on a Wednesday, and we're, driving through the Painted Desert, or like it just, driving along, I'd say to him, I saw a billboard that said like 40 miles ahead, there's this whatever. Do you think we could stop? And he's like, sure, we'll do whatever you want to do,
Oh,
whatever
I love
comes
that.
up. And we really had so much fun. It was an awesome adventure. I can't wait to get on the road and do it again.
That I love that. Okay, so let me ask you, do y'all have a certain thing you collect from every state when you travel?
Well, originally it was spoons, like a spoon collection.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, what I do is magnets. And
Love it.
so I take the magnets, but I also make sure that I take a magnet for my grandkids. And my grandkids are split between two households now. So my daughter, my only daughter, and then my oldest son have kids. So now I make sure I buy 2 extra magnets, and they get to live my adventure through
Yeah.
these magnets. Because when I get back, I'm like, okay, so, Grammy went to Arizona and New Mexico and Louisiana and Tennessee, and I'm laying them all out. And they're like, tell us the stories. And I'm like, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that they want to live through my adventures. And my daughter, of course, rolls her eyes and goes, Mom, if you visit one more state, I need a bigger refrigerator.
Right. I could imagine. We started collecting shot glasses. And we don't
Yes.
drink, but like glasses, they're easy to find. Like I love the spoons,
Yeah.
but like I'm pretty sure you can't find the spoons everywhere. The magnets you could
Yeah.
get pretty easy, but I'm like everywhere, even rest stops have shot glasses. So
Yeah.
we started collecting those, and we have like a pretty good amount. And my son, as he travels, he'll also bring us a shot glass, but I told him it really doesn't count unless we're there. But it's still great, and I think everybody should have that because it's that thing you could look back on
Yes.
and it reminds you why.
Exactly. Exactly. And it floods in all those memories you had
Right.
of everything that you did. Yeah, I love it.
Yay. It has been so awesome speaking with you, and like I've learned a lot, and I know the audience definitely did, and they could hear your passion and hear like how you get to live life. And at the end of the day, that's what most businessmen and women want. Nobody wants to work 24 hours a day. And so I love that, you guys did the road trip. And I totally, or the vlogs posted, because I would love to say, oh my gosh, you know.
Well, that's funny that you said that because the vlogs were on my old site, and I had to take that site
Oh,
down when I redid my website, and I thought, but I saved them. So my plan is kind of similar to yours in that I really want to write a book,
yeah.
a book about my life, which I don't know how many people are going to be interested in, but I mean, I, I got married straight out of high school, and the marriage didn't last. And then I've gone through a series of all this stuff, including up to the point where now here I am with this business and this new adventure in South Carolina. So I kept a journal all these years since I was a teenager. And I really kind of want to turn that into a book somehow. I'm just not sure how. And then I was thinking I could add these video blogs in there,
Yeah.
somehow put them in there. So I'm not sure, but yes, I definitely have those.
That sounds like a great idea. Of course, as a writer, I've been writing since I was 8. Last year, by alone, I published 3 books just because I probably could write in my sleep. But we'll definitely have to discuss that, Miss Pamela. So, how can the
Yeah.
audience get in touch with you, find out more about the business building boot camp, and go ahead and just drop your information?
Well, the best place to reach me is on my website. So that is brickwallcoach.com. And then from there, you pretty much can get to anywhere else that I might be. But my website is like all inclusive. So you're not only going to learn about me and about my services, but you're going to get, links to all my social media accounts, and my blog is housed right there on my website too.
I love it. And then you made it so simple, brickwallcoach.com. That's the website. Most of you guys, I don't know if you have business plans, but make that a 2019 goal and get with Miss Pamela. See how she can help you. Miss Pamela, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on today. And I definitely look forward to staying connected with you.
Oh, me too. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for listening. Connect with the show at the Define You Facebook. Until next time, remember your past doesn't define you. It gives you definition, and what you do with that is up to you.